Hi, my name's Ann Potter and I'm an author and designer. Today we're going to be making earrings from recycled printed metal. We're going to take a tea tin like this and turn it into an earring like this. It's a great jewelry warm-up. So first, where do you find tea tins? I would start in your kitchen cupboard. If you don't have any there, there's a lot of great sources to check out. You can go to a tea shop where they've got everything from the very genteel English tea tins all the way over to imported teas from China and from the Middle East. You can also look at an international food market. You would find tea tins there, but also some other cool products like olive oil cans or coffee tins, spice boxes, things like that. The one thing you want to make sure is that you're looking for printed metal. Sometimes you'll find a can that's actually plain and it has a shrink wrap label. You don't want that. We want the printed metal because that's what we'll be using for this project. Okay, so let's get started. To make the recycled teardrops, we're going to be using the printed metal from the can. We're going to be cutting out from this area on the can, but to get to it, we need to remove this ridge that's right up there. It's a very thick piece of metal, and our metal scissors are not going to be able to go through it very well. So what we'll need to do is remove it with a can opener. Now, if you were opening a can the traditional way, like a soup can, you would hold it like this, pretty easy, and you would turn it all the way around. If you did that, you would end up with this circle of metal. That's great for soup, but that really doesn't help us because what we want to do is remove the ridge, this heavy rim, with the circle of metal. So instead, we're going to have to hold our can opener upside down. So instead of like this, you'll hold your can opener like this and make little cuts along the top of the can. Now, I'll be the first to admit that this is a little more tedious than the traditional way, but it does the deed, and really it doesn't take that long. Just overlap your cut so that you can get a continuous cut around the whole can. Sometimes you'll find that tea tins come in square tins, and those work just the same way. You just put a little extra care into the corners, a few extra cuts, and you'll still be able to remove the top. It's not crazy to get a can opener from a discount store because every once in a while in can versus can opener, the can wins. So you don't want to ruin your good can opener. One more little cut and that'll do it. Actually, I can use my scissors at this point. Eureka. Okay, now the edges of the metal are very, very sharp, so be careful. But now that we have our lid removed, we're able to cut the rectangle of printed metal that we're going to use. So very carefully, cut with your metal scissors a nice working area. Get the patterns that you're going to want to use. Watch your hands, watch your fingers, and make a good sized rectangle. Okay, so after I keep cutting, I'll get my nice surface to work with. There we go. A few pops and we're flat. So here are some of the metal sections that I've already cut. And what's so fun about tea tins is like they're little works of art. You've got a lot to work with in one little tin. If you wanted to make some more understated earrings, you could go and choose the more solid colored parts of the can, and if you wanted more graphics or more of the pictures, you can go there. So now I'm going to make my template, my little pattern piece. I made a teardrop template. You could do a circle, a square. I would recommend a denser shape, something that's pretty small, about a 1/2 inch to a 3/4 inch size, and something that's dense in shape. I would avoid things like crosses or stars that have protruding arms because those arms could break off, and metal only breaks so many times before, metal only bends so many times before it breaks. So I'm going to choose this kind of ombre section of the tin for this one, and I'm going to take a permanent marker and I'm going to trace my shape. There we go. Then with my metal scissors, I'm going to cut out the shape. I stick to the inside of the line because permanent markers leave a pretty thick line, and so this way I can kind of keep a uniform color or size and a uniform shape. Again, watch your edges. Now, there may be some Sharpie left on the edge, and if you really want to, you can remove that with nail polish remover, or the next few steps should remove it for you just fine. So there's my shape, and I've cut off that top point because it's pretty sharp. Now, with an emery board, you're going to sand the edges of your teardrop. This removes the sharp edges, and it also removes the texture left by the scissors. Metal scissors usually are just barely serrated, and so what they'll do is they'll leave just a bumpy little edge, and if you sand completely, you should be able to remove this. It's the difference between homemade and handmade. So I'm going to keep sanding it until it's smooth, especially if you're giving these as gifts. You don't want to keep sharp edges on there. After it's been sanded, we're going to take a gold paint pen. This is oil-based, and I found it in the paint aisle of my craft store. This is not made just for jewelry. This is a paint pen. So what I do is I outline the edge of my pendant. And I'll go around the edge. I like this because I think it looks a little bit like cloisonne, just that pretty understated gold edge. And then at the bottom, I do kind of a heavier line, just because I think it gives it a little bit of design weight. When your paint's dry, you're going to punch a hole in the top of the teardrop. This will turn it into a pendant. I like this kind of hole punch because it's just like a paper hole punch, and I can see where I'm punching. Now, if you have any chad that hangs off the back or any sharp burrs, just use your emery board and smooth those out. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to assemble our earrings. The assembly couldn't be easier. You're going to add your pendant to a 30mm ear wire. These are the large kidney wires. And then I like to add just a few beads to up the design element a little bit. I like it because the beads, the matte gold beads, kind of tie in to the color on the from the paint. Whew, they jump around. I like that. There we go. And there we go. All of the earrings that are over here came from the same tea tin, which is pretty cool because you can get a wide variety of looks from one tea tin. These over here aren't so glamorous to look at, but that's the inside of the can. And to me, it looks like a perfect stamping blank. So that's our jewelry warm-up. Now let's get ready for our workout.